For early access plus exclusive content, facilitated discussions, live one-on-one Q&As, and more, become a patron at patreon.com/Bruce Poinsett. Okay.
Okay. So me being a native Portlandian, all of my history and information about Blacks in the state is specific to Portland, specifically Vanport, or more recently kind of gentrification and, the World War II shipyards, maybe bringing people here from the South. But to find out that there's all this history outside of the Portland metro area, and for me, it was physically going to Southern Oregon to kind of touch it, to make it real. You kind of made reference to, it being a mountain, which it is. The others described it as a hill, and in some way that kind of diminishes the significance of it being named after Ben. But for me, it's like, oh man, here's this big space that at the time white folks named after this Black guy, and even for our historical research, he may have only been in the area for 2 years, but he made such an impact that they named that space after him. I mean, that's where he did live there, but they named it after him, and so it kind of makes it come alive for me, and I kind of appreciate Zachary even putting together an event that kind of made us all kind of go down there. And even to Kim's point, there was some reluctance of many of us on the board because, we've heard the stories about, how people tend to treat Blacks in and around the state. And we are very much aware of the state's historical treatment of Black people. But nevertheless, several of us went and we had a great time, and the people were very receptive to us. And for me, it made that history real, and now I come back and I tell my peers about, hey, you may not be interested, but if you have the chance or the time, the next time you're taking a trip down I-5, just, take a stop there and check it out for yourself. Or as it pertains to a lot of the history that has kind of come into my knowledge at this particular point, I want to research and see more things and really kind of make it known to myself and to others that we make up the fabric of the state. We have a map here for the Oregon Black Pioneers that highlights all of the counties in the state. And in every county, there is a contribution of some sort by a person of African descent, a Black person, and so it suggests that our history extends far beyond the Portland metro area, that we pretty much touch every portion of the state. And to kind of combat the ideas that were limited to, the I-5 corridor or Portland itself, sometimes you need to go out and see these things and touch them and kind of make them come alive and validate to yourselves that, yes, we do in fact have a lot that we've contributed to the state. So for me, it was important for me to go and just kind of physically see where Ben Jonson Mountain was and to read the articles and the stories about the contributions that he made. And I continue to do that. I've been to Brownsville. I did an event recently where I was a presenter at a Juneteenth event in Oregon City. I've done some presentations as it relates to Eugene and all these other places, and so it's important for us to not only bring alive the history, but maybe even provide opportunities to make that history come alive so that people really know that it's real and it's not just some story.
Mm-hmm. I will jump in here and say this with a broader observation. I did not go to the Ben event. I committed to go to the Coos Bay event that was down there with the lynching. But my broader observation is this for Oregon and what is happening here with African American history and the identifying and recognizing various locations and sites, either through name change, markers, or something. I'm finding here in Oregon through observation and our organization working with folks out there, there's less reticence to wanting to open this up and make it known, versus in other parts of the country, the fight is to keep everything hidden to some degree. Oregon is a little bit more open to now recognizing and being willing to identify its history and tell the story. And that can be anywhere through with recognitions of plaques, interpretations in some form of this history. And that is significant, because when you have folks who are willing to fight you on everything, it's a tougher road. It is a very, very tough road to get things done, and you be in the fight by yourself. We're not in this fight by ourselves. There are actually in some cases, and Kim, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, and I say that, point that to you because your work also involves this type of venue, in that there's a lot of white people who are leading the charge. They're the ones sometimes bringing this up and becoming a support piece. And that's, and I want you to understand what I'm saying, because I know your audience is going to take this and somehow interpret this as giving white people too much credit. But I also believe that we're not in this fight by ourselves. It takes all kind to do the work. And what we want to happen is the story to be told, it to be shared, it to be accurate, and getting the support that you need to do that. And we sometimes have that either out there known or in the background. And so we've had fewer challenges, and I'm not saying that we haven't had challenges, because Lord knows it can be challenging. But when it comes down to some things here in Oregon, we've had some cooperation to get some things done out there. Processes take a while. You mentioned earlier about starting the renaming process for the mountain, and is now 3 or 4 years later. Sometimes processes take a while and you have to work through things, but the end result is the change was made, and that's always the goal. And so it's incredible, our ability as an organization, with an all-volunteer group primarily, to have forged relationships enough with a variety of entities to help bring about the kind of changes that helps us say African Americans in Oregon played a significant role from county to county to this state being what it is. And it didn't get that way solely with white people. It didn't. We had a significant role in every phase of its development. And we can point to various things, whether we see them as good or bad, that was significant.